Well, what's up, guys? It's Hamilton Fan 1705 here, and today it's probably the second episode of my F1 Weekly series, if I include last week's F1 2014 season preview as one of the episodes. But I've decided I'm going to start a new series, seeing as I got a good amount of views on my F1 2014 season preview video. So I've decided to start this as a series, because I've been trying to think of a series for a while, and I really think that this could be the series that could gain me the subscribers. So what I'm going to discuss in this video is, obviously, this past Sunday it was the Australian Grand Prix, the opening round of a new era for F1. So now, just going to go through what happened in the race. It was quite an exciting race, to be honest, even though the second half it did kind of die down a little bit, but the start went well for Hamilton, like the launch, but then I think the problems started when he went up to third gear at the start, because then Rosberg just simply breezed past him, and so did Ricciardo. And as soon as Magnussen just breezed past Hamilton, I just knew that Hamilton had a problem. And I seriously think that his retirement was seriously unlucky. I think he would have won yesterday's race if it wasn't for that, because he did really have the pace. But still, I suppose if you could pick a time to retire from a race, it's probably the season opener. Still 18 races to go. Pretty much everyone's going to have at least probably about 3 or 4 retirements this season. And I think the opening race is probably the best time to have one of those. So still 18 races to go. Also, it happened to Vettel as well, and many stood off fearing that he could still win the championship, considering Red Bull's pace. But I think it's going to be a very interesting season. Malaysia already cannot come soon enough for me. I think this season really could be a great season. So then after that, we had quite a bit of overtaking. We had Nico Hulkenberg made a fabulous start. He was up to 4th at the end by around lap 3. I think that car is capable of winning races, along with the Williams. But I think the reason why Hamilton and Vettel had to retire is because of the power unit. Because they only have a limit of 5. I think the FIA should change that rule, because it did kind of ruin yesterday's race slightly. Because if there wasn't a limit, he could have continued, and the problem could have sorted itself out, and he could have at least salvaged something. But because of this limit, I just don't see any reason why there should be a limit. Because they can't help it if the engines fail. But also at turn 1, Kobayashi hit the back of Massa. I think Massa was clearly really angry about it. He said that Kobayashi should have a race ban. But then we found later that it was due to brake problem on. I'm not sure if it was to do with the brake-by-wire system or not, but obviously it did ruin Massa's race. And then the next key event in the race is Bottas hitting the wall when he caused a safety car. I think he would have got a podium if it wasn't for that. I think that was such a shame he had to make that mistake. He just tapped the wall and it just damaged his car. But it didn't damage his car, it damaged the tyre. I think he still was probably driver of the day yesterday to be able to fight back to 6th. I think he is a champion of the future. I think Valtteri Bottas is someone who has a lot of potential. I think he really could be the next Kimi Raikkonen once Kimi Raikkonen goes. I think he really could be the next flying Finn. Because we know that he's a very good driver. But I think he could come like a Keke Rosberg. Obviously, the Williams, where Keke Rosberg won the championship. I think he actually could come like Keke Rosberg. And then I think Jenson Button also drove very well yesterday. He made quite a few places in the pits, and in the end was finished in 3rd. But now I'm going to go through each team. There was not really any key events, even though there was quite a bit of good racing after the safety car. There was not really very much key events. Red Bull, I think they will still be championship contenders this year. They do have once they've got their like reliability issues properly sorted out, I think they really are going to come into there and they really are going to start becoming champion contenders. So I think, but Ricardo I have very high hopes for. I'm now going to talk about Ricardo's disqualification just before I go on to the next teams. I think the FIA seriously need to look at these disqualifications. It wasn't Ricardo's fault. He trained and everything and clearly put a lot of effort in to get that result, and only to have it taken away from him through no fault of his own. It was not even the team's fault. For once I'm trying to defend Red Bull, because usually it's Vettel, but who because of his dominance many believe make the races boring, like me. But I think it was just ridiculous, because I think what the FIA should do is only make it so like Red Bull lost their constructors' points. I'm not even sure if it was Red Bull's fault, because it was a faulty piece of software that said that the fuel was within the limit, the 100 kg fuel flow limit. It said, the sensors say it was in that limit, but it wasn't. So Ricardo has all that effort to get that second place come to nothing, all because of a faulty piece of software, which I find really unfair on him. I honestly feel really sorry for him, and also the Australian fans who came there to support him. I mean, he did everything right. He produced the best drive of his career, and even with his disqualification, I still think that was the best race he's ever done, his best race of his career, and you should still think that. It's such a shame he's not going to get the points for it. It's just, and many others feel really sorry for him. But now on to the other teams. Mercedes, obviously Rosberg took the win. I think they clearly have the quickest car, both over a single lap and in terms of the race. They do have the quickest car. Let's just hope they can stay there all season. Ferrari, I think they don't seem as quick as they were in testing. They were struggling to fight the Toro Rossos early on in the race. I think Ferrari do have quite a bit of work to do. But we know, I think Alonso could still win the championship because it's a better car than what the 2012 car was, and the championship went down to the last race in 2012 with Alonso in the fight. Lotus, I think once they do get their problems sorted out, they will be like up there. But many were surprised they made it like past like lap 5, like including me. I was surprised that Lotus made it past like lap 5, considering how bad their car was over the pre-season. McLaren, they're back to their ways that they were in 2012. A double podium. Magnussen, I really think, could come the next Lewis Hamilton. I think he is a champion of the future. Second place on his debut. At first I think all the thoughts of him not being ready when he was initially signed for McLaren, all those have just been proved wrong. I think Magnussen is a future Lewis Hamilton. I think he really could. I think he could even challenge for the title this year. I actually have a feeling that if like Mercedes strip up, he could actually become the first rookie champion in F1. I think that's a huge possibility. And Button did a good drive to finish in third. And then, so now on to the midfield runners. On to Force India. I think they had a very good race. Hulkenberg, such a shame that he got leapfrogged by Alonso and Button, and then got passed by Bottas. So, and Perez, we didn't see how he got that puncture on the first lap. We didn't see how, but it was quite. So I'm just getting the lap chart up so I can discuss. So on F1 Fanatic, the race. Now actually going to go to F1.com. Sorry about that, but I was really. I think Perez could have easily got a good result if it wasn't for that puncture. Double points they got, which was really good. I've got the results up now, by the way. They got 6th courtesy of Hulkenberg and 10th courtesy of Perez. Sauber, they have huge problems. I think they have come as slow as, say, the Caterhams and the Marussias. They were one of the lapped cars. They clearly just don't have any pace at all. I mean, Sutil we know is a good driver. I'm not sure if we're going to see them improve over the season, but I think that I think if they're going to improve, they're going to improve like in the early part of the season. Now Toro Rosso, they had a very good race. Jean-Eric Vergne finishing in 8th, fighting the Ferraris, and another person who I think could be a star of the future, who I think could actually be another Red Bull driver of the future, another like championship-winning Red Bull, is Danny Kvyat. I did watch him in a few races in GP3 last year, and obviously I know that he did do a good job, but I wasn't expecting him to do as well as he did. And Williams, we know that they have a very good car. Bottas finishing in 5th. Still driver of the day. I think that was a very good drive that Bottas pulled off. Shame, I think Massa would have had a really good race if he wasn't taken out by Kobayashi. And Caterham, a double retirement. Kamui Kobayashi obviously taking out Massa on the first lap. And Ericsson with that oil pressure problem on lap 27. And I'm not sure how well I think Ericsson could be a decent driver in the future. He was battling Bianchi and Chilton, or Bianchi was not classified actually, so he wasn't battling Bianchi, that was my mistake, but he was battling Chilton. And Marussia, they obviously had problems even before the start, both cars stalling. Bianchi finished 8 laps down, so wasn't classified, and Chilton 2 laps down, so Marussia clearly have some problems. I think they're still the back marker teams. So, in my opinion, my rating of the race, I think it was a very good race. There have been more exciting races in the past, like many in 2012. I think that race compares to kind of Circuit of the Americas in 2012. I think that, in terms of excitement, maybe a little more exciting. But I think it was a very good race. And in terms of reliability, obviously 15 cars made it to the finish. One was not classified as 8 laps down, and one was disqualified. But that was a better reliability rate than many were expecting. I was expecting only like 12 cars to finish the race. Now on to the future races. Malaysia, I think we're going to see a good race in Malaysia. We're going to see a lot more overtaking in Malaysia because Australia was quite difficult to overtake. I think in Malaysia we're going to see quite a good race because the long straights, we never really see a boring race around Malaysia. Because obviously last year's race was dominated by the controversy. 2012 was quite a good race. 2011 was not really an exciting race, but we've not really. I think Malaysia has produced some quite exciting races in the past, and I think it's going to be an interesting race to see how it goes. Anyway, that's the end of my F1 Weekly episode. We'll see you next week for the 3rd episode of my F1 Weekly series. Goodbye.